Hey everyone, welcome to tnSportsChat presented by Lehigh Valley Health Network. I'm Patrick Matsinko, back with Emmett McCall this week, and we actually have been able to get outside and cover some spring sports. Believe it or not.
Yeah, well, the writers who've been out there covering them earlier this week said they didn't feel like spring sports.
This is true.
Sam Mata and Brad Hurley both told me their baseball games this week were colder than any football game they did this season. So, but at least they are playing ball.
And it's not snowing. It might be cold.
Well,
but
it was snowing. It was snowing, but lightly. They played in little snow flurries and 35-degree weather and heavy wind. But now, later in the week here, we're up to Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Supposed to have temperatures in the 60s, even 70s. So we actually will have some spring sports weather to play these games.
Yeah, the payoff is going to be worth it, though I'm just a little bit worried that we're really not going to have a spring. We're just going to kind of jump right from winter to summer. But either way, I think so far the hottest team on the diamond of our area baseball teams has been Northwestern. Northwestern just picked up a win over Palmerton, currently sits at 6-1 on the season, and is doing just about everything on the mound and at the plate so far.
Yeah, and not only best record, but they've played more games. They've actually been able to get a lot of their games in, being 6-1. But you talked about it, pitching, hitting. You have Vince Castrine, he's 3-0 with a 0.82 ERA. You have Mason Vogwell, 1-1 with a 1.75 ERA, and Drew White, 2-0 with a 2.15 ERA. That's quite the pitching staff they have.
And they're doing it, again at the plate too. With Tyler Wick, you look at Tyler Wick, he's hitting 571, 571 in 7 games.
Yeah, that's not 1 or 2 games. He's
26 plate appearances, 21 at bats. And they have other guys, Jake Haas, who's hitting 391. You have Trevor Schreiner, brother of Tyler, a Division I product who went to Lehigh. He's hitting over 400.
And speaking of the Shriners, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but their father, John, former minor league baseball player, and actually spent a lot of years coaching at Emmaus, but he got his start in coaching at Panther Valley, was the Panther Valley baseball coach a couple of decades ago probably, but got a little connection to the Schuylkill League with that.
And you can tell, like you said, it obviously there's been the trickle-down effect, and both Tyler and now, Trevor's having a phenomenal season, and again, Mason Vogwell hitting over 300, Derek Holmes hitting over 300. It's a team that really looks like it's kind of firing on all cylinders early in the season, which is maybe even more impressive when you consider just how rough the winter was and how little a lot of these teams have actually been outside.
Right, to be 6-1, probably with very few outdoor practices between their games or before their games. So very impressive how their pitchers have thrown in that kind of weather too, because you don't have the right feel on the baseball.
Sure.
When it's that cold, harder to throw breaking balls. So, really good start for the Tigers.
And, you just kind of think about the way that they've been playing, but we also have, Marian and Panther Valley, which just played earlier this week. A great game, and again, those games are always tight, always close. Marian managed to come back and pull off a victory against Panther Valley.
Yeah, Colts are 3-1. They've had some really good hitting in the early season too. We have Matt Doherty and Alex Kabishin are both hitting 500. Max Nolter, who's their power hitter, he's batting 364. And
a
like
young
you said,
team.
Yeah. They only have 2 seniors on the team, 2-time District 11 champs, and it looks like there are possibilities to head in that direction again. And a really good game with Panther Valley the other day. Panther Valley was up 3-2, 5th inning late in the game. Marian rallied to get the win. But those 2 teams played. They were the top 2 teams battling for the division title last year. They played in the opening round of districts, which was a 1-run game that Marian won. And it looks like, they're going to have more of the same this year.
Yeah. And certainly a lot to look forward to, and that's kind of just sort of where we're sitting on the baseball front. But we also have some softball teams that have played really well lately. Just thinking about just on Wednesday, we had Northwestern top Palmerton in a really tough Colonial League West Division game, where that's a stacked division where you have Northern Lehigh, you have Southern Lehigh, you have it's anybody could win on any given day.
Both of those teams, they're right around 500. Northwestern's 4-4, Palmerton's 4-3 on the young season. But that's a really tough league. That Colonial League, softball league is, you've got really good teams year in, year out. It looks like, you're going to see that again this year. And one of those teams is Northern Lehigh, who's off to a 7-1 start this year.
And Caitlin Hoffman, former Player of the Year, Division I product. She's been as advertised so far this season.
Hitting, Caitlin does a little bit of everything for Northern Lehigh. Like you said, 2-time Times News Player of the Year. But she's not a one-person team. I think a couple of years ago she kind of carried that team. This year she's getting a lot of help.
And we saw it last week in a game against Tamaqua with Alicia Horn, where she fired a no-hitter in 11-0 win. But when you can have kind of other pieces of the puzzle and kind of pull out some other parts of your arsenal in your game, that's huge.
Yeah, and it's really nice to have another pitcher you can rely on. Although most softball teams, if you have an ace, they pitch most of the time. But when you're playing 3 and 4 games in a week, it's nice not to have to pitch that ace every game. And Alicia Horn showed she could be counted on as another really good pitcher for Northern Lehigh. You've got Lauren Hoffman has also played really well offensively. Cheyenne Williams has been really good for them.
She was big in that game, and then again, Northern Lehigh just knocked off Southern Lehigh. Thinking about a divisional matchup there, where that's
perennial power. Southern Lehigh,
But just thinking again about Wednesday, Northwestern got itself not so much, I don't want to say back into the conversation, but showed why it's a team that is going to be dangerous throughout the rest of this season with an 11-5 win over Palmerton. Close game early, Palmerton leading 3-1. Ashley Sisco blasted a grand slam that kind of broke things open for Northwestern, and they just kind of really seemed to heat up there the rest of the way. 10 runs over the final 3 innings.
Earned herself the Lehigh Valley Health Network Times News Player of the Game award for that clutch hit and the way she played in the game. Something new we're doing this year, by the way. We've had a couple of games now where we have a game of the week, and then we pick a player of the week from that.
And everybody seemed to be, I think, very interested in it yesterday. That was something that people seemed to be kind of excited about, which is cool. And I had a chance to catch up with Ashley and get her thoughts on the game and the victory.
Well, the bases were loaded, of course, and we were down. And, the best feeling in the world is, getting that grand slam that everybody needs. But I was honestly looking for a single, but the fact that it turned out to be, a grand slam, that was the best feeling in the world, honestly. I wasn't going to give her any pitches that I know were bad. I wasn't going to give her an extra strike that she didn't deserve. And the one that was right there, I just chose to hit it. It was in my favor. So with our wins, and especially today, coming back from being down, I think that's really going to help the motivation of the team. We're going to be a lot stronger now.
That was Ashley talking about the victory over Palmerton and her performance in that game. But Northwestern isn't the only team that's been playing well lately, along with Northern Lehigh. We also have Tamaqua, which is a team that was in a district championship game, that has had postseason success, has had Schuylkill League success.
Has a lot of players back from that team last year, and they're off to a 5-0 start this year. Once again, Jada Shellhammer pitched for Tamaqua last year as an underclassman. She's back. She's pitching even better this year. Her numbers, she's pitched every game. They're 5-0. She's got a 0.93 ERA, amazing strikeout walk ratio, 34 strikeouts and only 2 walks this season in the 5 games.
Which is incredible.
Really incredible. Yes. It's one thing to have control, but when you have the control and the power to have 34 strikeouts in 5 games, obviously she's played really well. She's also hit the ball well for Tamaqua. She's got a 500 batting average so far. Miranda Chinchar is leading hitter on the team a year ago, I believe, and she's hitting .582 this year to start the season. So she's playing really well. Lots of contributions in that lineup.
And again, like you said, a lot of kids back that have experienced success and that kind of know what it takes. And that's a team that's going to be a force to be reckoned with down the road. But another team that's off to a really nice start is Panther Valley. I mean, Panther Valley is a team that is 3-1, just picked up a big win over Weatherly. Megan Pasco had a big game in the circle and at the plate for the Panthers.
Another underclassman, that's really pitched well and hit well. And it's for a Panther Valley team that hasn't had a lot of success in softball the last few years. And like you said, 3-1 start, and she's played really well for them earlier in the year.
Yeah, so now obviously as we get a little bit deeper into the season, just kind of see how things shake out. But certainly a great start for the Panthers, and again, like I said, a great start for Megan Pasco, and big game against Weatherly. So, but as far as track, which has been kind of, I guess, plugging along like normal, maybe not affected as much by the weather, but
right. A lot of schools around here have the all-weather tracks
sure.
now so they can get out there probably a little easier than the baseball and softball teams. But we've had, and once again, cold weather, not ideal conditions for sprinters or throwers or anybody, but we've had some nice performances early in the season.
We have, yeah. I'm just thinking about Lehighton's meet against Blue Mountain yesterday. Isabel Mekas, I believe, set a school record in the discus, topping Gwen Romelli's mark, which is...
just a couple years old.
Yeah, so that's obviously a huge accomplishment for her and the Indians, and we'll get to see them in action on Friday at Tamaqua at the Blue Raider Invitational.
You're going to be there, and actually it's going to start a string of a few weeks in a row. Jim Thorpe Invitational is coming up the following week, but we have 7 times in area schools are going to be at the Raider Invitational.
Yeah, it's massive. It's pretty massive. Obviously, host Tamaqua. We have Marian, Jim Thorpe, Weatherly, Palmerton, Panther Valley, and again Lehighton. So
18 teams in all.
Yeah, so it should be fun to kind of get to see how our kids stack up too against kids from out of the area. You're going to bring in the Hazeltons, the Lake Lehmans. You're going to bring in some schools, Crestwood. Schools from out of the area that maybe you're not really going to see again until states,
right.
or even districts or things like that. So, so I'm just thinking about and then to have like the Palmertons and the schools like that get to go against each other. I'm
and we'll also have some good weather for you tomorrow night.
I know.
They're saying close to 70 tomorrow, around 70. So something that the athletes aren't used to. This will be the best conditions they get to to run track in this year.
It's good for the athletes. It's even better for the reporters.
Everybody loves it.
All I ask is that Frank Miller can somehow manage that weather for an Olympian invite.
Yeah,
but
it'd be nice if we can keep this 60, 70 degree weather and sunshine around for a little while.
But it'll be nice. We've also had a slew of tennis matches where, again, we've had matches postponed. We've had matches that that the teams and schools have really had to. It's kind of forced their hand to play a lot of double headers.
Yeah, I remember, last couple of years, if we had one doubleheader tennis team playing a doubleheader the entire season, that was probably it. And so far this year, Palmerton, Pleasant Valley, Lehigh, I think they've all had doubleheaders, So, and thing about tennis is they started even earlier than the baseball and softballs. They got like a week and a half head start, and still with the weather we had trouble getting matches in, a lot of postponements. That's why they're doing the double headers. They weren't scheduled at the beginning of the year, but teams have had to kind of double up because we're only a couple of weeks away from leagues and districts in tennis.
Believe it or not, tomorrow is April 13th, which is remarkable in many ways, but you look at the way these schedules are kind of shaking out, and there are some teams that really only have, like you said, a couple of matches left, and we're well into the season with just a few weeks to go.
Yeah, we have three of our 4 teams are dancing right around the 500 mark. Pleasant Valley has a 7-5 record. Currently the 8th seed in Class AAA, which is the district cutoff in 3A. So they're right on the borderline there. So the next couple of weeks are going to be really important for them. In AA, Jim Thorpe and Palmerton are seated 6th and 7th right now. Thorpe is 3-4, Palmerton 3-5. So we've got both of those teams battling for district spots as well.
Yeah, so it should be an interesting end to the season, and obviously the way these doubleheaders have kind of they might end up shaping the way some of the end of the season matches just kind of play out, and then the way the postseason sort of shapes up as well. So yeah, but we are finally now full swing into the spring sports season,
which is good. Good to it's good,
and then it'll be over all of a sudden.
Spring sports season is short to begin with, and then when you lose a couple of weeks at the beginning, which is a lot of teams
it's important.
We talked about Northern Lehigh softball and Northwestern baseball playing 8 and 7 games respectively, but we look and both Weatherly teams have only played three games.
Yeah.
Pleasant Valley baseball's only played 3. So we've got a lot of teams that have a lot of games to get in a short span now. So, and especially for baseball, it's going to make pitching extremely important, having some pitching depth.
You look at Mahanoy area, which just started its season essentially baseball, softball this week. Just played its first couple of games this week, which is, it's incredible when you think about when practices have started and just how long that they've been kind of plugging away at it. But really,
what was it, March 15th? Was that the 13th? Something like that. It's almost a month ago.
Right around the time of state wrestling.
Right.
Which you think about that, and now that these kids are just finally getting outside and getting their first games in, which is remarkable, really. But
it's exciting. We'll get to
get
to talk next week a little bit about of what we saw. You can talk a little bit about the Raider Invitational. We'll have a little more on track on who the kind of track leaders are coming next week in the Times News. We're going to have our first 2018 track best is going to be in there. Rich Strack next week is going to have a nice feature story on Marian pitcher Ryan Capel. Nice story there. So we're going to start that next week with our Spring Sport Notebook and our track leaders.
Yeah, that's really a tremendous story. I mean, I've had a chance to talk to Ryan a couple of times just through baseball and football, and certainly a tremendous story. So definitely looking forward to that next week. But that's all that we have for this week. So for Emmett, McCall, I'm Patrick Matsinko. Thank you again for tuning in to TN Sports Chat presented by Lehigh Valley Health Network.